What's up YouTube? My name is Kolby and I'm coming at you with my first video towards growing and developing my channel. I've watched a lot of YouTube over the years and I've decided that I too can join the fray and that I too have something valuable to say. So with that being said, do me a huge favor, hit the like button, smash subscribe, and ring the heck out of that bell so that every time I post a new video, you won't miss it. Also, it does a great thing and it helps me with the YouTube algorithm so I can get my content to more viewers, so your help with that is imperative. With that, let's jump into today's video. So a little information about myself. I graduated in May with a Bachelor of Music Education and a Bachelor of Applied Music in Music Composition double major from Kansas State University here in the great state of Kansas. I'm now working towards my Master's of Science degree in Mass Communications, but that's kind of a story for another time. I've been a practicing musician since the 3rd grade, and I've performed all over the world as a soloist and with choirs in such incredible venues like Carnegie Hall, the Mormon Tabernacle, and the Pantheon in Rome. Now that I've had some life experience, performed around the world, and done some professional gigs, I have some tips for everyone out there looking to become a professional musician as well. Now, let me just take a second and clarify this from my standpoint. I'm a classically trained musician. That's what my background is. That's what my training is. If you're looking for a comprehensive guide on how to be a drummer in a rock band, this video might not be the greatest video for you, and it might not necessarily get you where you want to be, but at any rate, stick around because you might learn a couple of things that are applicable to you nonetheless. There's an old adage that you hear in classical music that essentially says a classically trained singer can at any time be a pop singer, but a pop-trained singer can never be a classical singer. To an extent, this philosophy is pretty true, and sometimes it can be astoundingly accurate across virtually every type of instrument or performance practice. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. The music and musicians of today are directly influenced by the music and musicians of 50 years ago. And the music and musicians of 50 years ago were directly affected by the music and musicians of 100 years ago. And so on, the list continues way back for as far as you'd like to go. So, technically, Mozart had, in no small way, a profound effect on the music of, say, Cardi B, whether she realizes or is willing to admit that or not. Developing yourself as a classical musician first before attempting to become the rock drummer that I mentioned above will ultimately serve you better than becoming a rock drummer first and then trying to go get a timpanist gig with the BBC Symphony or something like that. Let me preface this video by saying that I'm going to assume that for the sake of this video, you already have mastered the prerequisite of learning how to read music. I could, and I probably will, devote a whole video on my tips for learning how to read music, but if you haven't taken the time to learn this incredible skill, consider that the first major hurdle that needs to be jumped over. Again, that is the first fundamentally important thing. And honestly, if you thought that, let's say, you could become a professional English linguist without learning how to read or write English, I mean, think again. The same is applicable for music. Playing by ear will only get you so far unless you are a once-in-a-generation musician who can create something out of nothing but aural cues, which, in all honesty, is unlikely if you're sitting here watching this video. So, with that said, my first tip for becoming a professional musician is to invest in as much classical music training as you can. Whether you're a singer, or a keyboardist, or a composer, or a bass player, or whatever you envision yourself being, rolling with classical training in, at the very least, music theory and some keyboard skills, regardless of what type of instrument you want to play, will put you head and shoulders above the folks that ultimately you're going to be competing against for professional gigs. My second tip goes hand in hand with something that I said in the first one. Invest in classical piano lessons. The most versatile instrument that you will ever learn how to play, that has the most gigs out there that you can imagine, is the piano. Whether you're a concert pianist wowing audiences with Liszt etudes, or the collaborative pianist for your local high school, everyone needs pianists, and they need them right now. Developing your skills as a pianist will be enhanced by taking a deep dive into understanding music theory and by committing to learning your scales and arpeggios. And I get it, that sounds cliched, I know, but think about it this way. Steph Curry didn't just wake up one day to become the greatest three-point shooter of all time. He practiced the little things first. He developed his shooting technique, he strengthened his legs and his forearm muscles, he studied tape to develop the best ways to pull off open shots, and he hired professionals to help him continue to hone his natural skill. Now Kolby, you might be saying, I don't have the natural skill at playing the piano that Steph Curry does at shooting the basketball. And while that might be true, let me counter with another very popular saying in sports: hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. You know who said that? Kevin Durant. Actively engaging with and developing the proper technique in your keyboard skills, and for any skills that you want to learn for that matter, takes time and consistency. How hard are you willing to work on the little things so that when the big things arrive, it's as easy as taking all the little things and putting them together in the right order? My third tip is, in my opinion, one of the most vital to being a professional musician. Build your sight reading skills through the use of intervals and the extensive study of rhythms and their never-changing nature. In case you're wondering, sight reading is the ability to be able to pick up a piece of music and to either be able to sing it, play it, or study and analyze it without any kind of prior experience with that piece of music to begin with. The most important tool to be able to do this is solfege. If you've never heard of solfege, it's likely that you've just never heard it called solfege before. One of the most popular songs of the 20th century, From the Sound of Music, is built off of the foundation of solfege. Becoming proficient with solfege and being able to pick up an average piece of music, look at it, and understand the key signature, write in the appropriate solfege syllables, and then be able to establish key relationships between the syllables such as do to sol, or do to sol, or do mi sol, that's like a major triad, or do re mi fa mi re do ti do to establish the half steps, do re mi fa mi re do ti do, will allow you to virtually be able to generate all the pitches you need to sight read something effectively. Now hold on just a second. I know what you're thinking. I'm an instrumentalist. I don't need to sing. Let me be the first to tell you that from a purely educational standpoint, that claim is false. The best instrumentalists, regardless of vocal quality, can virtually sing their parts. And think about it. Your sense of aural perception is directly tied to your voice. Building your skills in singing, especially as an instrumentalist, will help to develop your innate sense of pitch and the ability to hear the pitches you want in your head, a phenomenon known as audiation. Whether you realize it or not, instrumentalists and vocalists alike are always audiating during the music experience. Why would you not want to build this skill further through such a simple tool as solfege and just a little bit of time spent in practice? Okay, now back to the regularly scheduled programming. Now, let me be honest with you. The most unfortunate yet exciting reality of being a professional musician is that, especially when you're just starting out, a lot of your big-time gigs are going to involve being called at the very last minute to fill in for a person who had weeks, if not months, to study a particular piece or group of pieces of music for whatever the event may be. This means that you will likely be given, at best, 24 hours, and at worst, literally no time at all, to familiarize yourself with a piece of music before jumping into a rehearsal, or even scarier, a concert. Where you as a professional musician will stand out is your ability to operate on the fly with little to no previous experience with a piece of music, simply because of your understanding of basic music theory, keyboard skills, and the virtually always applicable tool of solfege. Even if the solfege isn't written in, if you have been handed a piece of music that is very obviously in C major and very obviously stays in C major, even if you get lost, you should be able to find do because C is do. From there, you can piece together where you need to be. The deeper you understand solfege, the faster you'll be able to work with difficult intervals such as major and minor sevenths, major being do, ti, and minor being do, te, and even funky intervals such as tritones, do, fi. This level of show up and go makes being a professional musician honestly really scary, but at the same time really exhilarating. And the more successful you are at the single skill, the more times your phone will ring, which will then elevate the chances that whoever is in charge eventually calls you with the opportunity to have the music from the very beginning and to be the starter on the team, if you will, and not the backup. I can't tell you how many opportunities I've been able to capitalize on because I'm skilled at sight reading and can just show up and go. My fourth tip for you is to find suitable teachers who can teach you keyboard skills, music theory, and who can teach you your primary instrument. If you're trying to be an opera singer, be aware of a few things. The opera scene, like any field, is unbelievably competitive, and the true professionals, people who routinely sing all over the world and perform in extensive and challenging operas, are some of the best you'll ever find. Dethroning them is not an easy task, and for some, might just be impossible because of the rare and unique gifts these A-team players possess. However, if you're up for the challenge, I believe that anyone with the right mindset and tenacity can become truly great without a college degree in music. That being said, if you ever have a goal of becoming a professor of some kind, or even enhancing your development as a performer, it's incredibly beneficial for you to achieve a music degree of some kind to facilitate that success. There are just some things that you can't learn from a 1-hour lesson twice a week that you will instinctively pick up by being around and regularly collaborating with other aspiring professionals that you find in the collegiate setting. If you are someone who is just starting out in their music career, or perhaps even just an enthusiast, my recommendation would be to go to your local university and find undergraduate or graduate students who would be willing to give you lessons. Often, these students carry enough training that they can teach you valuable things while also being affordable, as they themselves are just students. If you are already a professional who is looking to take their skill set to the next level, I recommend finding a professional teacher or contacting faculty at your nearest university for a recommendation, or perhaps even an audition. My fifth and last piece of advice is honestly twofold. The first part is to surround yourself with people who are better than you at what you are aspiring to be and learn from them. No matter how skilled you are, it is exceptionally rare to become that one-of-one individual, truly and undeniably the greatest at your craft ever. Because it's exceptionally rare, I feel pretty comfortable in saying to you that with all honesty, there will always be someone who is better than you. Do not be intimidated by these people. Learn from them, maybe even befriend them, and vault in your mind their successes and their failures, and how you can build from that knowledge in your own way. Existing in a vacuum has never helped anyone and never will help anyone achieve their goals and their dreams. The second part is this. When you're first starting out, no matter how niche or different the gig is, always say yes. My mentor in my undergraduate degree wisely told me, "You'll know that you've arrived when you get to say no." That is, you have such a plethora of opportunities that you get to pick and choose the ones that you find the most interesting, and the rest you get to decline. Until you reach that point, always say yes, with the caveat of knowing when to say no, because you can't physically do any more than what you're already doing. The more gigs you do, the more people you'll meet, the more recordings you'll make, the more items you can place on your resume or curriculum vitae, and most importantly, the more experience you'll get and the more you'll get paid. Now, this part might seem obvious, but honestly, it needs to be said. Take paying gigs only. The sad reality of being an aspiring professional musician is that folks will often try to take advantage of that by offering gigs that pay in experience in exchange for your professional services. Do not take these gigs. They often require great expenditures of your valuable time and energy in exchange for nothing. You know what you're worth. Negotiate with the people who don't offer pay. Even if it's $50 and it pays for the gas it would take for you to get there and back, at least you broke even. Never put yourself in a position to lose money. If you take anything from this video, take that straight to the bank and vault it in your mind. At the end of the day, becoming a professional musician isn't for everyone. It's not for the faint-hearted, and it requires some serious dedication to your craft and your skill set. However, in my personal philosophy of educating people in music, I firmly believe that anyone can become a musician. The power resides within you to do great things. All you have to do is access it through hard work and determination. Thanks everyone for watching this video. If you have your own tips to add to mine about becoming a professional musician, or you think that I left something out, drop them in the comments below. I'm definitely interested in hearing your opinions on this topic, and I get it. Some of the stuff that I talked about in this video isn't necessarily a one-size-fits-all kind of deal, but I tried to make it that way for anybody who's trying to break into any kind of music scene on a professional level. Please do me a huge favor and hit the like button, smash subscribe, and ring the heck out of that bell so that you never miss another one of my videos. If anything, just hit the like button, as that will help me with the infamous YouTube algorithm and get my content to more viewers. Thanks so much, stay hungry, and I'll see you in my next video.